Congress can't seem to get its act together. It's no wonder that Congress has a lower approval rating than some deadly diseases. That's true. Congress, there are deadly diseases that have a higher approval rating than Congress. And so we've got a bit of a nightmare scenario playing out in Congress right now, this morning. On the one hand, you have moderate Democrats and Republicans joining forces to try and pass this $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure plan as soon as possible, as fast as possible. On the other hand, you have progressives who aren't going to vote on it until they see the other stimulus plan where the real money is, the $3.5 trillion, the human interest stimulus plan, the one that helps with the elder care, early childhood development, maybe some sort of universal basic income. All of these things are being, student loan forgiveness, all of these things are being tied into this $3.5 trillion plan. And so progressives have been waiting on this. This is the one that they're really sinking their teeth into. And the Senate could vote on this today, on the infrastructure, the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And then it goes to the House. But people like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and other progressives aren't going to do anything until they see that Nancy Pelosi over in the House of Representatives is moving forward on the other bill. So the question this morning is, is Nancy Pelosi going to bring that up? I mean, we've got a lot of interesting reporting this morning on this. I reached out to a friend of mine who's on Capitol Hill. Where is her head at on this? Are they going to move forward on this sooner rather than later? Because early talk was that this was going to be Pelosi's not bringing up that other infrastructure, that stimulus, until October. So here is a letter that's now being circulated. There's a letter that's going around Washington, which is circulating. I don't have within the White House, within the Democratic ranks right now. And it was written up by Democratic Representatives Josh Gottheimer, Ed Case, Jared Golden of Maine, Kurt Schrader of Oregon, Vicente Gonzalez, and Philemon Vela of Texas, all moderate Democrats. And in the letter, they're basically saying two critical points. First, they're asking Speaker Pelosi to bring the infrastructure bill up for a vote as soon as the Senate passes it. So that could be this week. So as soon as the Senate gets it done, hand it over to the House of Representatives and then pass it. So they don't want anyone spending time on this. They do not want people reading it. They don't want people looking at all the handouts that are going to go to their buddies. Republicans are on board with this, and these moderate Democrats like Joe Manchin, who there's big money for probably for coal companies and other things buried in this thing. And then secondly, in this letter that they sent out last night, it seems a bit squeamish. They're right now upset about the price tag for the $3.5 trillion budget resolution. So
and how many pages is this thing again?
It's over 2,000 pages. And by the way, last week, you and I were talking here on the show about, guess what? Once we actually started going through this thing, there was all sorts of crap in here that was really angering a lot of people, including Republicans, including progressives, including the entire crypto investing community. Because it basically said, hey, if you're a crypto investor, then you have to basically register as a broker. So now just because I buy Bitcoin, basically I have to be a broker. I'm a broker now. And everyone's like, whoa, wait a second. What's going on here? It would have destroyed the cryptocurrency space, Mark. It would have destroyed.
Well, and that's what I agree with Rand Paul. He tried to get legislation to require 24 hours per page, I believe it was, or 24 hours per something for a bill that you get to read it. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to slam this thing through because they don't want us to know what's in it.
Oh, yeah. And they're trying to move so quickly on it because also they don't want to be tied to this $3.5 trillion human infrastructure package, which is sort of core to President Biden's plan. So Republicans and moderate Democrats basically want to shove this thing through, and then they can say, oh, okay, we got that one done. Now that other $3.5 trillion thing that progressives want, forget about it. Sorry, we're not supporting it. We're not going to give you a 50-50 vote on a budget reconciliation process. We're done. That's the game that's being played right now. So once it passes both chambers, then it sets Congress on a path to passing big chunks of Biden's American Jobs Plan and American Families Plan using the reconciliation process, meaning that a simple majority vote is all they need. And it's critical to the White House. They want this. So this newest letter is basically an updated version of a similar letter they sent back in July saying the very same thing. They want a vote on the bipartisan infrastructure bill as soon as possible. They don't want you to read it. They don't want progressives to have any kind of a victory here. However, Pelosi has made it abundantly clear that she won't bring the bipartisan infrastructure bill up until the Senate passes a reconciliation package. Interesting. So we might be waiting until October, and that's not likely to happen until October or November. So something fishy's going on here, right? They're like, hey, we got to pass this as quickly as possible. Just get it done.
Well, of course, you know what's fishy is what's going to happen. I mean, what always happens? So this is the playbook. They're going to pass this bill first for all their buddies, and then they'll fight, and we'll end up getting scraps on the other one that's for us, and then we won't get anything. And they don't care if it'll January, February, whatever. They'll just hem-haw around, fight over this, all this other stuff. Yet they've all managed to come together on the one that doesn't benefit us as much. I mean, this is just what happens. Like, why would we expect anything different now? We've seen it for a year and a half. Yeah, come on, Joe.
It's exactly right. It's exactly what happened under Trump back in 2020. Both sides, bipartisan, they came together. They passed that massive stimulus package during the pandemic.
CARES Act.
The CARES Act, yeah, in March 2020. Everyone was glad-handing. They're all slapping each other in the back. It was all great time. They got this thing through. And Nancy Pelosi had promised that we would have additional stimulus. We would be able to take care of other people down the line. We're going to get to that part. We'll get to that part. I promise you we will handle this. Right? We will get to all of that. Don't you worry about it. And it never happened because all of the big businesses on Wall Street were taken care of. They were all taken care of. So right now for Pelosi, I mean, this isn't a matter of choice for Pelosi, but a recognition of this political reality right now in the House of Representatives. Pelosi needs to keep both moderates and progressives happy while trying to ensure that both factions vote for both measures, or at least enough of them in the case of this infrastructure bill. And any misstep could mean that neither of these things passes, which would be a disaster for Biden and Democratic congressional leaders. And quite honestly, a disaster for the United States of America. I mean, here's what progressives aren't going to vote for this. They are not going to vote for the Senate bipartisan infrastructure bill without seeing the rest of this agenda, meaning they want the reconciliation package on the table and moving forward. Otherwise, they are done. They are done. Here's what AOC sent out yesterday. She said, if moderates want to blow up the infrastructure deal, that's on them. I know this is tough for some to understand, but the U.S. is more than a handful of suburb communities. Outside them aren't disposable. More than a handful of suburbs. Communities outside of them aren't disposable. And just because something is, quote, bipartisan doesn't mean it's good. Look at the Wall Street bailouts. Exactly. So exactly what you were just saying, David. Like, oh, it's bipartisan, but really, that's what's going on.
Well, when it's bipartisan, that's when we really need to worry.
Yeah, exactly. Here's what Manu Raju's reporting shows us. Moderate House Democrats are raising concerns about the Democrats' budget plans that would pave the way for passing a $3.5 trillion package, and are also calling on Pelosi to give an immediate vote on the infrastructure bill and not tie it to the reconciliation package, per the letter from the source. Moderates are likely going to cave and vote for the bipartisan infrastructure bill whenever it comes up, and we know it, and they know it. Moderates like this bill, whereas progressives are fine passing the infrastructure portion, as long as they know that this $3.5 trillion piece is coming down the pike. Will they get their way? So who's going to cave here? Like, we're in a head-to-head moment here. Is Pelosi going to cave to progressives? Is she going to stand by her word and say we're not moving on anything? And by the way, it's not just progressives. I mean, it is the White House. He knows they will not have Republican support. Biden knows they will not have Republican support to pass a $3.5 trillion human infrastructure and climate change package. It's not going to happen. So they've got to do it through this reconciliation process where they only need 50 votes. So it's an interesting moment. Who's going to bend? Let me know in the comments who's going to bend on this. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. You can also become a channel member by going to morninginvest.com/join, where you can stick it to the mainstream media and support independent journalism. We're able to bring you the stories that you won't see on any of the major billionaire-backed networks. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time, everyone.